Hello everyone. So in today's session we are going to discuss about connecting the EC2 Linux instance using a Putty. So in this video I am quickly going to create one EC2 Linux instance, and I'm not going to discuss all the configuration steps. Already I have discussed in my previous video where I have created the EC2 Windows instance, so you can just go through it to get more details about the every steps. In this video I am going to just quickly select one Linux operating system, Linux AMI, and then going to use it immediately, and then we'll use the putty to how to connect that. So this is my uh, account, AWS account. This is the service screen. You can see we are going to create the EC2. So just go into EC2 and immediately we'll go to the launch instance. So to create the instance, you need to actually go to instance and then go to launch instance. On my screen you can see many of the instances I have created earlier, and but now I have stopped and also terminated. You can this instances will not be visible after some time. So I am going to create a new instance. As we know that for this we need to go 7 steps. You can see on the screen we have the 7 steps that we have uh, to do to create our instance. But in this video I will be going to select only one instance. This so I'm going to create a Linux server, Linux based machine. So I'm going to select this one, AMI 2018.3.0. You can see the description here. It is basically a Linux machine which is provided by the EVS storage, and it will also support it with Python, Ruby, Perl, and Java, and it will also provide repositories for PHP, MySQL, and Postgres. So you can just check all this initial information whenever you start to configure your server. So I'll select this, and then I just skip all these 7 steps, and I am going to launch it. To just go through the previous video where I created the Windows instance, and in that video I just gone through all these steps and discussed some important points which may be required to have better understanding that how the services are used in the cloud. So I am going to simply launch it. This is all the default settings I have used. You can launch it. Now also we need to have one public private key pair in order to access our instance. So we already created one key pair in our previous video. I am going to use that key pair. So I am having one key pair 11, this name. I'm using this key. Otherwise you can also create a new key pair. It's a very simple process. You can just go create a new key pair and then select it, but in my case I'm choosing the existing key pair. I will agreeing with this terms and whatever they are saying, and then launch instance. So now my instance is ready. So you can see here it is going to be running, and it will check the two status. So regarding the status check, two checks are required. One is the system status and the instance status. When both the things will be checked and properly configured, you will see here 2x2 check, and that means now your server is ready to work on. Before that, by the time it will take, so it will take like 4 to 5 minutes to get this uh, server ready for us. By the time, you can just go through the properties or the default setting that we have used in our instance. So here uh, this is the basic instance summary. What is the ID, what is the IP, public IP, private IP, and what subnet. So we have just used all the things as a default, and we have used a Linux machine, and Also, you can see what kind of security you have allowed. So I have used a secure default security, which actually provides you all access of inbound and outbound, means all kind of uh, IPs are allowed to enter to your cloud. They can access the resources. Similarly, there are different things that you can check. So let us refresh this, and you can observe here that it is still doing some processing, and still it is not ready to be used. Now, one thing to keep in mind, while creating our instance, it is asked to create one public private key pair. We have created this key pair. If you are accessing uh, this through SSH, your Linux machine, then you will be using that PM. Normally, when we create this key pair, you are getting this key pair in .pem format. So .pem format is used when you are accessing it with the Linux environment. Now here I am going to uh, use through window by using Putty. Now Putty actually supports only PPK extension files. So we need to convert our PEM file to PPK file. Now for that we need to have a Putty gen installed with us. So Putty gen is used to convert our PEM file to PPK file, and then Putty is used to use that .ppk key file and connect to our instance. So if you don't have this Putty and Putty gen on your machine, you can download it, and you can go to my video and you can see that how to install Putty and Putty gen. So here I am simply using it, and yeah, I am using Putty gen and Putty to connect to our server. So I am just refreshing it again, and still it needs more time to get it done everything for us. Also, you can give name to this server. Let's say I will write here uh, my Linux server. Okay, this is the server which we are trying to configure and later want to use it. So here you can see now this is showing 2 cross 2 by 2. That means both the status has been checked, and now this instance is ready. The server is ready to work on. So the very first thing is we need to connect to the server. Here you can see all the details of the server: public IP, private IP, and this instance is showing running. Okay, so the very first thing is we need to convert our PEM file to PPK file. PPK file is actually Putty a private key which is used to connect to our instance. So okay, so the first thing is we need to convert that PEM file to PPK file, which is a Putty private key. So I'll go to the Putty chain, which is already there on my machine. I'll click on it. I'll go to load and search for that PEM file. That PEM file, so when you work with Putty, by default is the PPK file it supports. So we'll select all files so that all the files are visible to us, and then from here you will search this key pair 11 file, and then click on OK, and then you will save this file as a private key. So what we are doing here is we are converting that private file stored as .pem. Now we are storing it or converting it into .ppk. So save private key, click on yes. Now you can give it any name to this file, but I prefer to give the same name uh, like you have saved with your instance. So in my case, my PEM file is keypair11. So again I will give the same name, but with different extension will be saved. Keypair11 already we are having with the .pem extension. Now we are having one more keypair.ppk. So if you want to connect with Putty, you can use .ppk file. If you want to connect SSH using Linux, you can use PEM file. So now we have here this keep here ppk file is available to us, and then you can go to Putty. Now Putty will help us to connect to instance. So here in the session you will find it will ask for the host name, so you can go for the uh, you can go to your information, go to the public IP, and you can find here also public IP with the DNS. You can just copy with this and go to your Putty, so paste here, and then you go to the SSH, means in the connection you will find SSH, click here SSH, then go to auth, and then here in the browse you need to select your ppk file which is required for connection. So here on the desktop we already have this ppk file, and then click and press open. Now it will say that you are allowed to connect without any security. You have to agree that okay, I am going to agree. So this is the default phenomena we are just discussing, that how to connect. Later we can provide more security. So here it will say you are now prompting us to connect by providing the user detail, login details. So EC2 user is the user uh, for this connection, and it will say that you are now connected. So the screen is actually is an indication that you have successfully connected to your instance. So hope you have understood that how we can use Putty to connect our Linux instance. That's all for today. Thank you very much. See you in the next session.